Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Feels good, doesn't it, with football back and a massive win yesterday, match of the day. I mean, I personally felt that the goals were better watching it back on Match of the Day than it was live. So neat, so tidy, so clean, so clinical. Fantastic from Manchester United yesterday. But look, we're here to talk about the latest Manchester United news and transfer news because there is still a transfer window open and we must not rest on our laurels. This is a 38-game season in the Premier League alone, not forgetting the Champions League, the FA Cup and anything else you want to have a game in. Is this United squad ready to win a title because it smashed Leeds 5-1 at Old Trafford? I don't think it is. And I still think there's work to be done in this transfer window. And I think there is nothing more the Glazers would love to do than go, we've just beat Leeds 5-1, shut up shop, save a little bit of money. And I think as a responsibility for me, the channel and you as a community is to not let them off the hook. The players and Ollie, for me, are very separate to the owners of the football club. The owners of the football club tried to put us in a Super League. The owners of the football club tried to save money. The reality is they still haven't bought a midfielder and they still haven't sold anybody. So to just sit there after 5-1 and go, everything's absolutely fine, we don't need anybody. And there are people doing that. I saw them last night on social media. I've heard them this morning. More fool you. You may as well get a t-shirt with I love the Glazers on it, because the reality is we are still not where we should be in relation to challenging for a title and also having the transfer window that we need. So we'll be talking about Kamavinga. Quite an interesting update on Kamavinga coming from the Rennes coach. That's obviously where he plays at the moment. Also Lingard and a few other things as well. But ultimately, I stand where I stand. I think we've seen that Manchester United side beat that Leeds side 6-2 8 months ago. So it's not as fantastic as it was yesterday, and I did see changes. We've got a video coming up for you this afternoon which is called The Breakdown, which is a tactical look at what happened yesterday. But I did see changes. And I think you can take a positive into this season. I think we are going to be more of a challenger for the title. But I still think the way Leeds play is very different to the way Everton play, the way Villa will play, the way Liverpool will play. There's a lot of teams that won't play like that. And I thought Leeds, they may as well be called lambs. Lambs to the slaughter yesterday, because they walked into, it was almost like an old style Rome Colosseum, where the United fans were baying for blood and the gladiators of United came out and absolutely destroyed them. They just never, one wonder goal and that was it. They got absolutely panned. And they, obviously I think they missed that Llorente at the back. I think they missed Calvin Phillips. And I just don't think they looked anywhere near ready. And United, inspired, I'm amazed nobody's given man of the match to the fans, because it's like, am I the only one who's realised this? And I know a lot of you have said it as well. I reckon if that game had been played in an empty stadium, you'd have had a very different result. Leeds absolutely visibly couldn't put passes together in the first 20 minutes. I thought the fans had a massive part to do with it, and the players fed off that. And it's interesting because Ollie said that last season, didn't he? That in the home games, they've missed that support, and it really made a big difference. Anyway, let's talk about the transfer news. We mentioned last week about Kamavinga. Now, I think Kamavinga is going to leave. We've obviously got 2 weeks on Tuesday till the transfer window closes. But I think Kamavinga is going to leave Rennes because the agent is pushing the move. Kamavinga went to a new agent in the last year, and they're definitely pushing the move, but they're sort of saying nothing's been decided yet. And then if you listen to what the Rennes coach said this week, he said that a lot of people said that Kamavinga played bad in their game. He didn't play that badly, but he needs to decide. Basically, he said he needs to decide what he wants to do. Ultimately, if you're staying at a club and you're developing yourself, your mindset's there. If you're not sure what you're doing, then maybe your mindset's not quite where it needs to be, and he needs to make a decision on his future. So Rennes are pushing for him to make a decision. The agent is very much open to the move, and as we know, United and PSG are interested. So everything goes back to the player, really. But this, he's clearly conflicted. He's only 18 years of age, but Rennes don't want him to stay. They want to sell him because he won't sign a new contract. He, I think, wants to stay, but isn't sure whether he wants to stay. And the agent is like, we'd probably like you to go now because we could do with some money coming into the agency, because that's how it works. United are therefore sat watching this situation. Now, I think Kamavinga is a very good signing for Manchester United, because at 18 years of age, he's perfect for Ollie. He'd probably loan him out. What's he going to do with Diallo? But he doesn't have to pick him, but he's bought a midfielder. So for United, this is a very good signing. And also, let's not forget, he's a fantastic player. But You're not going to see Kamavinga come into United and play instead of Fred or McTominay or Matic. That's not going to happen. But you buy a midfielder, you go, we've bought a midfielder, the fans are happy, the club satisfies something for somebody who's very cheap, who's got great potential, and everybody's happy. So it makes a lot of sense for United to do the Camavinga deal, because then everyone can go, it's an elite summer, we've got a centre-back, a right winger and a centre midfielder. And I'd certainly agree with that to a certain point, because we have bought a midfielder. I think we saw yesterday that ultimately McTominay freed up as a little bit more box-to-box is a good idea. I'd still rather that was Donny, to be honest with you, but it's personal choice. McTominay played very well. The Fred role, I'm not convinced about that role. I think against Leeds, fine, he did okay. I only gave him a 6 because he got a goal. I didn't think he was that good. I listened to Match of the Day and Alan Shearer was going on about it, and I thought, I don't think Fred played that well, but whatever, we won the game. If that player was a prime Matic, a prime Fabinho, a prime Jorginho, well, just Jorginho now, a Declan Rice, I think suddenly that team is revolutionised. But we're not going to get that with Camavinga, I don't think, because I don't think he's going to play in there, and I don't think we're going to buy that player. So I personally think when it comes to a midfielder, there's definitely an opportunity for Manchester United to go and buy a midfielder. Whether they want to do that, I don't know. I still think that we probably won't buy a midfielder. I think, Manchester United is not a well-run club. It just isn't. I don't care whether we win 10-0 or not. We're not a well-run club. And I'm not talking about Solskjaer and the players. I'm talking about the board. They are bankers. They will watch that result yesterday and they will look at the result and go, we're going to win the league. We don't need to buy anybody, because they don't delve deep. They don't know about football. So they won't look at that and go, that could be a smokescreen. In 5 games' time, when the window's closed, we might be saying we need a midfielder. They'll probably look at that and go, we don't need anybody else. We're fine. We're sorted. So I'm sceptical that we'll buy a midfielder, but I definitely think that Camavinga is somebody that, I put him as my second favourite for somebody to buy last week, with nobody being number 1. He's definitely for sale. Rennes definitely want to move him on. The agent, I think, wants to move him on. It's about what Camavinga wants to do, and I think that will start to move in the next couple of weeks. And look, he might end up at PSG. I don't think he'll end up anywhere else. I think it'll be PSG or United. And I would do the deal, because it's better to have a player of that quality here, because my concern is not only this season in the midfield, and I don't care what anybody says. Look, the reality is we won yesterday. I'm already thinking about the next game. And I also am not going to change my opinion. I was Ollie in going into the season. I think Wan-Bissaka's going to have a big year. I think Greenwood's going to have a big year. I think Bruno's going to have a massive year. And I think Martial will have a big year. With other players as well. I still think Pogba's going to have a good year, etc., etc. But I still think that midfield is very, very weak. And I think that if we are to progress, then that's where we need to be looking at. And I'm not so sure that United are actually thinking of doing it. Because if you think about, if I was Solskjaer this morning, sipping on my coffee and my croissant, I'm like, I've done it, Kariki. I've got it. I've done it. I've just smashed Leeds with McFred, and I've still got Matic and Donny on bench. And he'll be looking at that midfield and going, I don't really need anybody. So I'm not sure we'll get a midfielder, but I think Camavinga would be perfect, because I think what's going to happen next year, you buy Camavinga at 18, whether you use him a lot this season or not, next year he's 19. Next year Pogba goes, Matic goes, Donny goes. You've lost 3 midfielders. At least if you've got Camavinga with McFred, at least you've got 3 and you only need to buy 1 more. I think Camavinga's a very clever signing if we can get him in for the future, because I see next summer we're going to lose Matic through retirement, Pogba because he'll run his contract down, and Donny because after 2 years of no football he'll say fuck this. So I think Camavinga would be a positive to bring in. We'll have to wait and see. I think something will happen in the next 2 weeks. What I think is going to happen in the next few days, we spoke about it a little bit last night, Jesse Lingard. I was speaking to somebody this morning about this, and what they said is that, look, Lingard loves Manchester United. He wants to stay at Manchester United. I think we all respect that. But also, he's a switched-on lad. He's not like certain players at the club that won't give up their shirt number and will just stay. He's not like certain members of the club who really aren't even good enough for the level that we play at, but will stay because they like it here. But the reality is, Lingard will look at it and go, I want to play. I love this football club, but am I going to get to play? And what I was told this morning is that there's a realisation from Lingard's camp that he's probably not going to play much football this year if he stays where he wants to be. Whereas if he gets the move, he can go and be the star at West Ham. And that is starting to rotate in Lingard's camp, and they're starting to seriously think about making moves for that to happen. United, we think would probably be open to that. But it's always been about what Lingard wants. United are really bad at making decisions, basically. I mean, if Lingard said he wants to stay, I think United would let him stay. If Lingard say he wants to go, they'll let him go. I mean, ultimately, as a football club, Manchester United should be making this decision and making it a long time ago. But the reality is, I've always said with Lingard, the decision should be his anyway, because it's his career. If he wants to stay at United and play in the Carabao Cup and come off the bench for 10 minutes every now and again and play if we have an injury crisis, that's fine. But I think, there's harsh decisions coming down the road. Lindelof played really well yesterday. I won't have a bad word said about Lindelof yesterday. The assist for Bruno was fantastic. He played really, really well. My problem is, talk about Scott McTominay. My favourite bit of McTominay's whole game yesterday, and you'll remember it when I say it. It wasn't the pass to Pogba. It wasn't his energy. It was the determination to get back and defend the front post when Leeds were on the break, and he got in front of Bamford because Lindelof was like 2 bags of cement on his heels. He was planted. Bamford had played him one way. He's going front post. He's going to get a free header on that front post. McTominay sprints back, gets there first, and heads it for a corner. That to me was the best bit of McTominay's game. That was something I don't think we saw last season, where we're not tracking runners, and I thought that was fantastic. But that could have been the goal for Leeds, and I think at that point it might have been 0-0, maybe 1-0. It was definitely in the first half, and I think Bamford might have scored from that. It was right on the edge of the 6-yard box. So look, brilliant pass by Lindelof. We know he played very well yesterday, but his weakness, as we've seen over the last year or two, is his ability in the air. He switches off, and he's not very physical. We're going to have to move Lindelof out of the team for Varane. Beans on toast or a Chinese takeaway. Elite against okay. That's what's going to happen. And I think if Jesse Lingard is looking at United, he's got to see that. I mean, look at Pogba. And if I was Jesse, I'd have looked at it yesterday and I'd have gone, right, I need to go. And the one reason I would have said it's time to go was the Pogba performance. That's where if I was Jesse, I'd have gone, shit. Because I think for me, Paul Pogba, and I'm probably lonely on this train carriage, but I would like to see Paul Pogba playing centre midfield. If you do have a good holding midfielder, you play Pogba where McTominay played. And I think you get more out of Pogba, because when Pogba's on the left, you can only see that side of the pitch. Whereas when he's centre, he can see everything. But he was brilliant off the left. And I think when Pogba played off the left yesterday, I think if I'm Lingard, I'm like, oh, right. I can't play centre mid and I can't play centre forward. I can only play 10, left attack, right attack. And you've got Pogba on the left, you've got Sancho on the right, you've got Rashford on the left, you've got Greenwood on the right, you've got Bruno at 10, you've got Pogba at 10, you've got Van der Beek at 10, you've got Mata still at the club. I've missed somebody else out, Rashford. Man United have got so many options that even if Lingard did well, he wouldn't play much. And it's nothing to do with Lingard the player. I think Lingard's a good player and he proved that last season at West Ham. But is he better than Bruno? No. Is he better than Pogba? No. Is he better than Sancho? No. Is he better than Greenwood? I don't think so. Is he better than Martial? I don't think so, but some might. We'll get into that area now. Is he better than Rashford? Some might think so, but I don't. So there's 6 players there that are better than him. I think Donny's better than him as well. We just haven't seen it, but Ollie probably doesn't think that, so let's keep him out. But yeah, I think there is mumblings from the Lingard camp that he's starting to realise that his future needs to be elsewhere because he needs to play football. And if he goes to West Ham, he's probably their best player. If he stays at Man United, I might give you a game in the Carabao Cup. But don't underestimate that Lingard loves Manchester United and would love to stay at Manchester United. And if you're a Manchester United fan, like many of you are, if you're Jesse Lingard and West Ham want you, but you're a Man United fan, you're like, and you love the club, of course you want to stay at United, but this is a career decision. And I've mentioned it many times before about Nicky Butt and Phil Neville did exactly the same in their late 20s. They'd had a career at United, in and out of the team, gets to the late 20s and suddenly it's like, I'm getting less and less game time. I love this football club. In fact, both of them came back as coaches, didn't they? But they went off to Newcastle and Everton respectively to play football. And I think that Lingard's, I've said it consistently about Lingard, he does need to go. And it's not, look, if you said to me, Phil Jones, Dan James, Jesse Lingard, Phil Jones needs to go because he's never fit and he's not good enough. Dan James needs to go because he's not good enough. Jesse Lingard needs to go because we've got way, way too many players in his position who are better than him. He is a good player. I think Jesse Lingard's a very good bench player for United, but our bench options in that area are so good, he's not even a bench player. And I think that's the problem with Jesse. I thought his performances at West Ham last year were brilliant, and I think he'd be a very welcome bench addition at United. But as we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, the bench options for us now, I mean, Martial and Sancho came off the bench yesterday. And Cavani and Rashford are still to come back. Like, we can't get all these people in. I was like, last night watching Match of the Day, I was looking at social media and I saw something on, I think it was Cavani, on his Instagram. He's running on his running machine and he's watching the United game. And I was like, oh my God, I got really excited again. I was like, I forgot about Cavani. Got bloody Cavani to come back as well. We've got so many options. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I do think that, I think Lingard out and a bit of money would benefit the club, and it would definitely benefit him. So, what I suppose, long story short, we've got Romano on the show tomorrow. I'll ask him about it, but I do think that things are starting to move with Jesse, and of course, we are moving into the last 2.5 weeks of the transfer window now. 2 weeks on Tuesday, so let's wait and see. With regards to that, Pereira will go. We'll probably have to loan him because nobody will buy him. Everyone wants to try to buy because they think he's shit. Dan James will end up staying. I mean, realistically, Dan James will end up staying because I think Lingard will go and Ahmad's going to go on loan, as we know. Jones will end up staying because nobody's going to go anywhere near him. And I think that will be it. I think Lingard, Pereira will probably be the only two that move, and that's if Lingard go. So yeah, people are commenting and saying some of me thought Lindelof as CDM. What's your thoughts as United voice, mate? I'm not. I mean, Varane's been in training today. Meunier as well. He's put up a little video saying it was great to be unveiled yesterday. I mean, we'll never. All I'm going to say about that is everyone's saying this is how you do player announcements, and it was brilliant. Apart from the fact that they didn't plan on doing that, I think United. It's almost like a last-minute winner. It's been a crap 90 minutes and they've pulled out a last-minute winner because it was elite to see Varane walking on the pitch, and if you were one of those fans in the ground, it would have been way better. That was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But we're never going to know why he wasn't announced from Wednesday morning until the match on Saturday. 3 full days, because something went wrong in those gaps and nobody I speak to can find out what. But they definitely were not holding back to do it on Saturday lunchtime. I mean, you can tell that from Ollie's presser on Friday. Like, there was something holding it up. They rescued it. They pulled something out of the bag, and he probably wouldn't have played against Leeds anyway. But something held it up. But he's got to come straight into the team on Saturday against Southampton because that's the quality of player that we bought. What the question there was about Victor Lindelof as a centre defensive midfielder. My only answer to that is why. Like, why? I mean, again, how many I Love Glazers t-shirts are we selling this morning? Let's put Victor Lindelof at CDM. I mean, why do you want to let these greedy owners off? Like, why are you putting a square peg in a round hole? Why can United not buy a holding midfielder in one of the most important positions in football at one of the biggest clubs in football that's apparently trying to win a title? Why can't we just go and buy one? There's plenty out there. Why are you going to put Victor Lindelof there? He's not. He's got no left foot. Victor Lindelof is not a holding midfielder. Never in a million years. And people will say, well, he's played there for Benfica. I'm sorry, I see no attributes in Victor Lindelof as a holding midfielder at all. I don't think he's mobile enough. I think he's very right-footed. I think the way he plays is very bent over because he's a centre-back like this. As a holding midfielder, you need to have your back straight. You need to be looking around like that. I don't see... You watch Victor Lindelof when he's playing. He's very much like head on the ground like this. He's looking around like a centre-back. I want a holding midfielder who opens their back up and is looking around, has got balance off left and right. I don't see Lindelof as a holding midfielder. I think it's a desperation thing, to be honest with you. But look, maybe we'll have to do something desperate like that, but I don't think we'll ever see it, to be fair. Is Bruno as a false 9 and Pogba at the 10 the answer for Ollie if he sticks with the double pivot, says Anthony Tracy? Mate, I really hope not, because if we play Bruno at false 9 and Pogba at number 10... Why have we got Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, Cavani, Sancho? Have I said him twice? Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, Cavani, Sancho. Those 5 quality players become irrelevant if you play Bruno at number 9 as a false 9 and Pogba at number 10 because you can only pick 2 out of those 5 players. We need as many of those players on the pitch. Rashford, Cavani, Sancho, Greenwood and Martial. We need 3 of them starting every week. So no, Pogba. I mean, this is a problem. That's why Lingard's done. Really, you've got those 5 players plus Bruno and Pogba, and you still got Mata and Dan James. 9 options for 4 positions. We could try Ollie as a CDM, says Graham Farrell. I mean, look, if you really want a CDM, I think I'd do a better job than Lindelof. I'll come out and do it. I don't think Ollie would play Kamavinga. We'd need a Varane stature CDM signing for them to dislodge McFred, says Joshua Bowater. Look, at the moment, heard that Phil Jones refused to give Varane the number 4. What a prat, says Orlando. I mean, I spoke about that last night. I'm very sad that that's come out. Obviously, I've got no problem with the Manchester Evening News reporting it because that's obviously been leaked out by somebody. They won't write a story unless they've got a good source on it. But I feel sorry for Phil Jones on that because he's got it totally wrong. United should have dealt with that better as well. You can't buy a player like Rafael Varane who ideally wants the number 4 and then Phil Jones says, I'm not giving it up. Hold on a minute. This is Manchester United, mate. This is Manchester United. You're giving it up. Like, that shirt's going to Varane. And also, look, is it that deep? I don't think it is that deep, but it becomes a little bit deep when it comes out into the public arena that Phil Jones refused to give up the number 4 shirt for Varane. It just doesn't... It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And I think it's... even though he's in the wrong if he's done it, I do sympathise with Phil Jones because I just think he's going to get... he's in the wrong, isn't he? Let's have a look. Hasn't Lindelof just been made Sweden's captain? He's going to want to play. Surely he will look to leave. Well, he won't. No, Steve. It's a long season. He'll be here for the season. Next summer's something else. Rather a false 9. It would work more like the Tevez role behind Rooney, maybe, says Fearless Offend. And I think Jesse is like how Lallana was for Liverpool. He might be thinking stay for a season as win something and go on free next summer for good wages. Well, he might, Sean. Yeah. He might do, but you use a year of your career, and Jesse's not short of money anyway, is he? So, look, I can understand why Pogba would do it because Pogba will start for United every game this year, and then he'll make a massive amount of money next summer. In Jesse's case, yeah, you'll make a bit of money next summer, but if you're not playing, you won't get as much money. So, you know what I mean? There will be people who want Lingard in a year's time, but if he's barely played any football, his stock will drop. He might get 100 grand a week now at West Ham. In a year's time, they might only give him 80. So I think Lingard's time to go is now. And I don't think Lingard will be about the money either. Annoyingly, the CDM situation is like the centre-back situation last transfer window. We're begging for it, and in 6 months the club will start looking at it, says Joe. Yeah, I think you're right there, Joe. I think that the centre defensive midfield issue at Manchester United will become an issue. Well, it is an issue, and I think it might be the reason we don't get into a title race, which will be very frustrating after getting Sancho and Varane. Knowing you've got another hole in your team and not plugging it will be frustrating. But Ollie would sit there and say, well, look, I didn't need one yesterday. At some point, I think we will need one, but look, I don't really want to. We know what we think. The vast majority. Look, there's. I'm not bothered about saying we need a midfielder and we won't win the league without one. People will say we're fine. We won 5-1 yesterday, and I think we'll beat Southampton. They look shite. I think we'll probably beat Wolves as well. I think we've got to go and win the first 6 games, and then you got to say it's a good start to the season. But I think over a 38 game season with Champions League football as well, I just don't see that midfield being good enough. I really don't. And therefore, it will come back to this transfer window. We didn't buy a midfielder. So, United, in some ways, would you rather win 5-1 or would you rather scrape a 2-1 and say we desperately need a midfielder? Obviously, we're all going to prefer a 5-1 because it was amazing. But part of me thinks I'd rather we'd scraped a 2-1 and the midfield was dreadful so that we have to buy a midfield because longer term, that might be a short-term win, but long-term pain, because I desperately think we need a holding midfielder. I'm not going to change my mind on that. But I think it's not going to be something that's spoken about massively, because I think over the next few weeks we're going to win a lot of games. It's like being an Ollie outer. I mean, I don't want to pick on the Ollie outers because, I think in many ways that their reasons sometimes you can understand even if you don't agree with them, but I've said this before. I think as an Ollie outer, you've either got to be strong in your conviction and just stick with it, or you're gonna have to bite your tongue for a bit, because I just think there's so much momentum around that Man United side at the moment. So much quality. Everybody's basically fit. We've got a really good run of fixtures where you'd expect us to win and win well. I don't see the issues. And look, famous lads' last words. I don't see this United side having issues for at least a month and a half, maybe 2 months. When the Champions League kicks in and we start playing some more difficult games, maybe in October, that's when I think we'll start to really see how good this team is. By which time, hopefully, we'll have some momentum, confidence, and chemistry. But it's an interesting challenge. It is an interesting challenge, and I want to talk about it on the tactics show I'm going to do later. In fact, I must write that down. It is an interesting challenge as to how you can compensate for the midfield. Because sometimes you can carry players that aren't as good as everybody else if you have the system. Perfect time to ease Sancho and Rafi and even Donny with our first few run of games. He has got no excuse. Paul, I really do think all I can do. How bad, Mr. X says, how bad would it be if I bought the new shirt? Opening game got me gas, but I don't want to support the Glazers. It's on you, Mr. X. That's on you. We only have one proper CDM, which is Matic, but it's too old. Stop suggestions on making any of our current players become a CDM. We don't have one, says Minnie. And I just want to go back on that as well. Please, 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 do not put Donny van der Beek into the same category as Rafael Varane or Jadon Sancho. I think if we get Donny in the team, then it'll be a very, very pleasant surprise. But I just think if Donny van der Beek is not going to start yesterday, having been brilliant in pre-season against Everton and in general, then he is never going to start anytime soon. I think this is the long goodbye for a few players at Manchester United this summer. I think it's the last dance of Paul Pogba. I don't think he'll sign a new contract. I think Matic obviously will be gone in a year. And I just don't think Donny van der Beek will get any game time. So I think we'll be saying goodbye to him as well. For Pogba to stay, get a good CDM, let him play in his favourite position, be strong in the Champions League, win a couple of trophies, then a slight chance he might sign, says Mahan. Yeah. Never say never on Pogba. I mean, ultimately, if United give him ridiculous money, he might stay if the project's right. That's the hope of United. That's the hope of Ollie. I think Ollie's trying to say, look at this. 75,000 fans. It's buzzing. You're playing with Bruno. Spain's dead. You can't go to Spain. It's rubbish. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Why would you go there? PSG, the league is crap. All right, you might win a Champions League, but the league is crap. There's a lot in our favour. There is a lot in our favour. Juventus, you've been there. The league's shit as well. There is when you look at it, there's a lot in our favour. The Premier League is the place to be. Manchester United is on the up. We've got a fantastic support. We've got an amazing ground. All right, it needs renovating a little bit, but it's still an amazing day on match day. And if we start to be a contender for the title in the Champions League, and we've got the money to give him what he wants, every box is ticked. And if you keep Pogba, you might get Haaland. So look, I would never say never on Pogba, but I 100% think he will wait until the summer before he makes his mind up. And he might run his contract down and go, you know what, I'm staying at United. I'm not fucking leaving. He might do that. He might not. In a year's time, La Liga might change. Maybe Real Madrid and Barcelona find a bit of money down the back of the sofa and they start to bounce back. But he'll definitely, in my opinion, run his contract down. There is hope. But to be honest with you, if I was Pogba, I've said this so many times. Let's talk about what that super chat was saying there. Is that maybe if United can win a couple of trophies and the platform's right for Pogba, he'll sign the new contract. You're absolutely correct. I don't think Pogba's all about the money. I think he's all about his career as well. In a year's time, if we've challenged for the title, maybe got to a Champions League semi-final and been unlucky, and we look like one of the best teams in Europe, and we're a better project than PSG and Real Madrid and Barcelona and Juventus, I think he might sign the contract if the money's the same. Hi Mark, you're well. Hope you're well. I've been hearing Nainggolan is a possible free agent. Would he be fixed to our midfield if he's considered? No, he's past it, Rahul. He's definitely past it. Rashid says, Sunday's starting team with Varane in the team would give us a clue what midfield Ollie would pick, how the team would look this season, says Rashid. I forgot United play on Sunday next week as well. It's good in a way because the players get a week's more training before next Sunday, but you win a game like that yesterday, you just want to play again, don't you? You really do. I can't wait for Spurs against City this afternoon because I just want to watch some more football. In fact, I'm doing a watch-along on That's Football for that. But yeah, it's a long old wait. We've got the Sunday night show tonight with Ricky and Adam, and I don't know who else is on tonight. I need to sort that out. But the reality is, I do think that he won't make loads of changes next week. He might not bring Varane in. he might not start Sancho. You know what Ollie's like. He has got his favourites, and it's like, you've got to work hard to be one of my favourites. You know, it could be Lindelof and Dan James who starts. I certainly think McTominay and Fred will start next week. Whether Varane plays or not, I don't think he'll change the midfield two at all. I think he'll be like, we've got to go to Southampton and battle. I want Fred and McTominay, and I think they will start. And I mean, let's be honest with you, I think a lot of people would say, do they deserve to be dropped? I think the only people who'd say they deserve to be dropped would be like, well, why did Matic and Donny get dropped? They didn't deserve to be dropped either, but that was a pre-season game. So I don't think we'll see any different midfield next week. I'd be pretty confident in betting that Fred, McTominay and Bruno will be that midfield three again, with Pogba to the left, hopefully Sancho to the right, and maybe Cavani's on the bench for that game with Greenwood starting. But I don't think we'll see Martial starting anytime soon. I don't think we'll see Donny starting anytime soon. And I hope he puts Varane in. But, it's the perfect game to play Varane because it's an away game. You want to keep a clean sheet. You want to have the ability to push high against a team that's not very confident. And that's what Varane brings. I don't think people understand how good Varane is. This whole should Varane start against Lindelof thing, it's really like, should I wear pants out today? Or should I walk to the pub naked, or should I wear some clothes? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Unless you're a nudist, put your clothes on. Like, Varane is on a, if Lindelof is Stoke, Varane is London. Like, he's way better. He's way better. It's not even a debate. I'm trying to think of a play. Well, you should know this already, but if you don't know this, this would be like playing Southampton and thinking, should I start Kevin De Bruyne? Or should I start Almiron from Newcastle? It's that sort of a thing. Almiron's not a bad player, but Kevin De Bruyne is one of the world's best players. And I think that Varane just needs to start. It's not even a debate. It might turn into a debate, and you never know with Ollie, but it shouldn't happen. Much as I want Bruno to play every game, we saw what happened last season, and I want Van der Beek to be ready anytime, but I concede Mata will get more games under Ollie, says Paul. I mean, that's the thing, yeah, you're probably right. There isn't a televised fixture at Old Trafford until October, says Ewan Black. Yeah, I think we've got a couple of 3 o'clock kickoffs, haven't we, in September? Why do you think Phil Jones didn't want to drop his number? So Successful Spoon. Well, you know what? If look, everybody's different. If I'm in that situation, I know I'm stubborn. I would be like, I'm not giving it up. But I'd expect the club to say, you bloody are. It's a weird story, really. This season is big for McTominay. This season defensively, says Oliver Smith. Hi, Mark. Can you wish my wife, Hirel, a happy birthday? You're doing a great job, says Girish. Happy birthday to Hirel. Hope you have a great day. Look, you know what? I don't know. One of the things that, it doesn't bother me because people make up lies about you all the time. I'm not really bothered about that. That's just the way it works. But I think for anybody who watches this channel, and you might be new, you might be near years, you'll know that actually agenda is not really something I have. People talk about agenda with fan channels, and I don't really have an agenda. I have positive agendas, but they're not really agendas. It's based on my opinion. I genuinely thought Luke Shaw would be a top-class left-back, and I was right. I genuinely thought Bruno was the answer, and I was right. And I think Wan-Bissaka will become a very, very good right-back like Luke Shaw. Let's see if that happens. I don't mind making predictions, even though I've had some that have been successful. There will be ones that I got wrong. I thought Andreas Pereira was going to be a very, very good player. That didn't work out. But what I also would say as well is, and I think it's indicative of the community that we've got, and I've tried to breed this, even though, it's up to other people how they have their opinion, because that's what opinion's all about. But I keep hearing that I have an agenda against Scott McTominay. I don't have an agenda against Scott McTominay. I certainly don't have an agenda against Fred. I remember when I was doing the chart show, which I'm going to bring back on Saturday, Fred was getting number one quite a lot. Like, Fred's a player that I like. I like Fred. I just think he's fell off. I do. I think he's fell off in the last year. He might come back. And I would remind you of Nemanja Matic. Never really wanted us to buy Matic. I thought he was past it. Did really well. I went, all right. About 2 years ago, before Christmas, he was crap. I was calling him a bag of cement. And then that season when we got Bruno, from January to the end, him, Pogba and Bruno were brilliant. And I said, look, he's not proved me wrong because he was shit, but he's turned it around and he's doing better. I'll always praise a player when they start to befit the shirt. I couldn't give a toss. I've heard great things about Scott McTominay, by the way. He loves the club. He loves the fans. He doesn't want to be anywhere else. He works really hard. and he's a really nice lad. I've heard all these things about Scott McTominay. Irrelevant, but, you know, really nice lad. I judge him on his footballing ability and footballing ability alone. I don't judge him because he works hard. I don't judge him because he's a nice lad. I judge him on his footballing ability. And I think as a footballer, he would respect that because it's an entertainment business. Now, yesterday, I thought he played really, really well. And as I said a few minutes ago, I think his best bit of play was actually without the ball until he headed it out. He read the danger and he stopped Lindelof looking a twat on the front post and he headed it away. That was, for me, his best bit of the game. I've always said about McTominay, I don't know what he's all about. I don't know what he's all about, but he's definitely not a holding midfielder. I think he shows his best ability against Leeds. I think his 2 best games in the last calendar year have been Leeds at Old Trafford, Christmas and yesterday. And in both those games, he had licence to get forward. It's interesting that Ollie even said he reminds him of Paul Scholes. Now, before you start having a go at Ollie, what he meant was one specific thing. The way Scholes used to arrive late in the box, he says McTominay's got that attribute, which he might have, but he's never going to utilise if you're playing him in a holding midfield role, holding Fred's hand to protect a back four. And I think we do start to see something in McTominay the minute he's got the shackles off and he's allowed to be more box to box, which is not surprising because he started his career as a forward. So for me, McTominay is I've never said sell Scott McTominay. Never said it. I've always said, for me, he's like that Darren Fletcher. You know, he's a bench player who maybe blossoms into something we didn't expect. And maybe this is the year it's going to happen. So, look, he deserves credit for yesterday. I want to see him in a more advanced role. But if I'm absolutely blunt, I think Donny would do a better job. But there's nothing wrong with keeping McTominay. And Ollie obviously prefers McTominay. And on his performance yesterday, that's absolutely justified. I'd rather see Donny in that role. I'd rather see Pogba in that role. But ultimately, we've got a lot of options in that role. And that role is not Bruno. It's the box-to-box role. You've got McTominay, Pogba and Van der Beek, who I think can play that role. What we don't have is a holding midfielder. And that goes back to what we're talking about at the start. Because McTominay's not a holding midfielder, so leave him alone. This whole McFred thing, forget about it. Because if we're not playing 2 holding midfielders, it's not McFred. McTominay's in the box-to-box role. Fred is in the holding midfield role. Matic can do it. You've only got 2. And some people would say for different reasons they're not ready. This is why we need a holding midfielder, which takes us back to the start of the show. Speak like Carrick, says Giddish. Well, Ollie speaks like Carricky. I don't know how Carrick speaks, but he's a Geordie, isn't he? Why, hey, man. Hi, Mark. It's my 21st birthday. Hope you enjoyed the result yesterday, says Alex. I did. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for the 8 o'clock show tonight because the 8 o'clock show is always better when the season's kicked off. We can talk about things like the midfield, why Matic didn't start, what the front 3 should be, having watched the game of football. And we all know Ricky will have watched the game 10 times by now. So can't wait for the Sunday night show tonight. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. It's going to be very, very good. Also, I'm planning on putting up a video about 2 o'clock. It's a small video. It's a tactic. It's called The Breakdown. It's about the tactics from yesterday. I know some of you like that sort of thing. I think it's nice to bring tactical analysis into it as well. That will be going up about 2 o'clock. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Can't wait for the 8 o'clock show tonight. And if you are watching Man City against Spurs, I'm doing a watch along on That's Football for that. Take care. Have a good day. And I'll speak to you all later.